Good morning, MCI. This is take number 5. It seems a little odd looking into a camera instead of into your faces, but hopefully this is at least some way in which we can connect and there can be a communal experience in these weeks ahead. This morning's chapel is maybe inspired by some of my own experience over the last week and some of the journey that I've been on. I hope that maybe at least a little bit of it can either make you laugh or make you smile or inspire you in some small way. Hopefully I can speak clear enough that you can understand me. I've only got an iPhone microphone, so hopefully you can hear me. All right. So days at MCI and in the school are significantly different than when you last left. There's no longer somebody in the hallway out of uniform. We don't have to go find somebody waiting in their room for us to drag them out. There's no chatter in the dorm lounge. There's nobody making funny faces as they walk by my office when I'm actually in it. It's just empty. And for those of us that have come into work at times, we have to keep our distance, which is odd. It feels sad and at times feels really hard. At a time when the world, I believe, needs one big hug and we need each other more than ever, we're being asked to stay 6 feet away. And so what does it look like for us to connect and to feel each other's presence even when there is no physical experience of that? So for me, this last week has been challenging, overwhelming, and at times, I'll be honest, I was filled with some level of fear or anxiety. I'm generally someone that comes across as ready to take on any challenge. I even enjoy problem solving, and sometimes it gets me into trouble. However, something you may not know about me is I have an incredibly high level of anxiety when it comes to health. And I always have. Health has been something I've always been afraid of. I don't know why. But a little story to give you some context. When I was about 8 years old, I think it was about 8 years old, I was in the backyard at our farmyard, and we were playing 500 up baseball. And I was the pitcher for the batter, so I was throwing the ball to the batter. And my friends in the back said, "Hit it as far as you can. Hit a big one." And so the batter said, "All right, I can do that." And so obviously you can imagine what they're thinking. I'm going to go as hard as I can. And so I threw the ball as a pitch, and the batter hit that ball. And the next thing I remember is opening my eyes to a small pool of blood in the grass. And it's at that point that I realized that unfortunately the ball wasn't a pop fly, it was a line drive, and it hit me right on my left side, right in the jaw, right in the mouth. I ended up losing a tooth, I believe, and a few other loose teeth. Thankfully, they were still my baby teeth, so I have all my teeth. They may be a little gappy, but I have them all. But I didn't, when I woke up and came to, I think I had questions, but I wasn't crying. I knew something was wrong. I had a big cut in my mouth. And we walked back to the house and we sat down on the deck and my mom looked at it, my dad, and we talked a little bit, they talked a little bit about it. And then they looked at me and said, "Paul, we're going to have to take you to the doctor." And that's when the tears started flowing. It hurt, but apparently I didn't need to cry until they said, "You need to see someone about this." And I think that's when the fear kicked in. Is it worse than I thought? And at 8 years old, I probably couldn't think that far ahead. All I knew was I was scared. And I think the point of that is not that I didn't cry when I got hit. The point is that the only time I started crying was when it was time to see the doctor. And over the years, I've realized that fear is probably the fear of getting maybe the worst news. Maybe it's worse than I thought it was. What if my jaw is broken? Again, I don't know if I thought that as an 8-year-old, but now as a 30-something-year-old, those are thoughts that would go through my mind. And I question whenever I need to go to the doctor, there's this huge anxiety that I'm going to get the worst news. And so sometimes I would prefer not to go to the doctor. And then when you add on top of this the pandemic that we're going through as a world and the interconnectedness of the world and the way in which this virus is spreading, my fear for Miles and for Simon is increased. It's both a fear of not wanting them to get sick. It's a fear of myself. Once Miles and Simon were born, my own feeling of mortality or of wanting to be around. I don't want to get sick because I want to be able to watch my kids grow up. I want to be able to go to a dance recital or to a hockey game or to all their school events and be that embarrassing dad that shows up at all of them, but shows that I care. Even when at that point maybe they're saying, Dad, like, can you just let me do my thing? I want to be here. And I know those seem big, like, why am I thinking of all those things now? And for me, they're all connected. This is where my fear and anxiety around health come in. This is where when something like this happens, my greatest fears come to reality. And in some ways, I mean, I'm doing my part or trying to do my part in staying mostly home, distancing myself physically from other people. But there's still that fear, what if I pick it up? What if something happens to me? Or what if Miles, who doesn't even have an immune system yet, gets it? And so those fears can, if I'm not taking care of myself, rule my mindset. But I realized already last week as we had to make all these decisions around school and what are we going to do as school and how are we going to make sure we're making the smartest decision, even if it feels a little bit like we're overreacting. I'd rather look back and say we overreacted than look back and say I wish we did more. How are we going to make those decisions so that each one of you as students know that we care and are putting your health and safety first? And that felt overwhelming in a different way. So you add all those things up, my own fear of my own health, fear for my kids and for Carrie Ann, and fear for you as the community that I care for and I want to be there for, was a lot. So last week I made a few conscious decisions. And one of those conscious decisions was I needed to take time and space to center myself in whatever way that looked. And for me, that's centering myself, and often has in times of high stress or anxiety or worry, has often been finding a way to connect myself to God and this greater understanding that it's not all about me and that someone is in control or that I think for me, yeah, it's just that connection to say there is something bigger than me and this isn't all about me, and God, I need you and I need you now. And so for me, the way in which I've done that is every evening, whenever it is before I go to bed, whether that's 10 o'clock or midnight, after we've got the kids to bed, Miles is sleeping or at least feeding and not fussy, I'll come into Simon's, we call it Simon's big boy room. And maybe at the end I'll show you a little bit, although I'm sitting in the corner at the moment in his big boy room. And what I bring my phone or I bring a laptop and I put on a song. And the song I've chosen to listen to is Oceans by Hillsong. And there's something about those lyrics and that song. It's been one of my favorite worship songs for quite some time. It's been overplayed in different seasons, but there's something powerful about the words that have always, I think, always ring true for me and are a reminder that God is with us, even when it feels like we're in the waviest of seas. And so what I do is I put that song on, I dim the computer screen so it's black, turn the lights off in the room so it's black in the room, it's really dark. And then I lay down. I lay down on these pillows in this corner. You can kind of see, this is Simon's little reading corner. I lay down, and I've chosen this room at the moment because in some ways it connects me to my greatest fear, which is that my kids might get sick. And so by laying in this room, it allows me to be in a space where I need rest. And so I put that song on, and I listen to it, and I take deep breaths. And all I think about is breathing in and breathing out and taking in those words. And so I'm going to read those lyrics to you. And they go like this. Maybe I'll even try. I might sing them a little bit. Sorry, I'm not a singer, but I have a hard time reading it. I'll do my best, though. You call me out upon the waters, the great unknown, where feet may fail. And there I find you in the mystery, in oceans deep. My faith will stand, and I will call upon your name, and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace. For I am yours, and you are mine. Your grace abounds in deepest waters. Your sovereign hand will be my guide. Where feet may fail and fear surrounds me, you've never failed, and you won't start now. So I will call upon your name, and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace. For I am yours, and you are mine. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters, wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger. And these are the words that wash over me as I lay there. Sorry for my tone and my singing, but it's easier for me to sing it even if it sounds bad than to just read it. Hopefully you can get a laugh out of my singing if you need. But so these are the words that I rest in. So for some of you, these days at home will feel like rest and maybe even a filling of the soul. For others, it may feel like an added anxiety or stress or maybe even chaotic. And when you think of the virus and the reality that we're living in, it may be a fleeting thought and something you're not too worried about or doesn't take up space. Or maybe it even feels a little goofy and like, are we all overreacting? But to others of you, you may be filled with anxiety or fear or moments of stress and worry. No matter where you sit on that spectrum, I think it's important to remember that God is with you. And so today I'd like to invite you to join me as I attempt to sit in God's embrace. Here's what I'm going to encourage you to do. Find a worship song or a song that soothes your soul if worship isn't something that you find yourself comfortable with. Find a song that gives you rest and peace. Then I'd encourage you to choose a time today. You're only going to need 5 minutes. Most songs are 3 to 7 minutes, so you're not going to need a whole lot of time. Get into a comfortable position, put on the song, close your eyes, and just focus on breathing and taking in the words of the song. My hope is that this might give you peace, that it might center you in new ways, and maybe even as we do this together, might make us feel a sense of community. This feels very vulnerable to do, but I think I'm going to do it anyways. I'm going to invite at 3 o'clock today on the MCI Blues Instagram account. I'll go live. That feels very vulnerable. I'm not a YouTuber. As you know me, I'm not that active on social media, but I don't mind it. So I'm going to try going live at 3 o'clock. I'm going to share very briefly some of what I shared earlier on in this video, but in a much more brief approach. And then we're gonna sit and rest together. I'm going to play Oceans, and so over the live feed, you might hear the song Oceans, so feel free to just listen to Oceans. If not, feel free to mute it and put your own song on. And let's rest in God's embrace together. So 3 o'clock at the MCI Blues Instagram account. Feel free to bring your own song if you need. If not, feel free to come and join as we rest in God's embrace. Thanks for listening. Hopefully you can feel some connection in this. And remember that we miss you, and we can't wait to be together with all of you again and being able to do chapel not with a bed and chair and dresser watching me, but with human faces. Enjoy the rest of your day.